Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Season 1 of The Nevers. So, before I do head into my thoughts and feelings on Season 1 of The Nevers, because I do have some complicated feelings about this show. There's a part of me that I really loved it, but kind of within that, there's some stuff that really frustrated me and irritated me. So in order to really express some of my issues and problems with this first season, I'm definitely going to be incorporating some spoilers in this video. So if you have not finished up Season 1 of The Nevers, or if you plan on watching it sometime in the near future, do not watch this video because I'm definitely going to be kind of going into some stuff, so I can kind of get out what my issues are. So yeah, Season 1 of The Nevers. In case you're just watching this just for the hell of it and you don't know what The Nevers is about, The Nevers takes place in like Victorian London, kind of in this very, almost rather steampunk version of Victorian London, because there's definitely some technological advances that are going on that definitely did not really occur back in Victorian London. So it is kind of a rather steampunky version of it, if that's kind of your sort of thing that you enjoy. And an event has happened that a certain portion of the population now have like supernatural gifts and abilities. Their genes have been manipulated, essentially, that they can now do certain things. Like somebody has the power to control fire, someone can, you know, see into the future, somebody is really brilliant with like manipulating and using like electricity and stuff like that. Somebody can, you know, just breathe on something and make glass, you know, things like that. It's very much almost like X-Men. You know, think of the Nevers like that. It's almost like the X-Men if they were in Victorian London. So that's kind of the big premise of this show. Something has happened. For whatever reason, a small portion of the British population now have special gifts and abilities. But with that obviously comes, you know, the normal people, if you will. The normal people are obviously really terrified and concerned, and, you know, what does this mean to their society and to their future and whatnot. So the show is definitely also it has a big running commentary, you know, on this whole discussion of, you know, the other essentially. How do we treat the other? How do we look at the other? And yeah, these people who are called the Touched, they are seen as the other. They are seen as some sort of disturbance to the force, if you will, to the balance of this world. So yeah, that's kind of the big premise of the show. It's like X-Men in Victorian London, you know? Let's put it at that. So where to begin, you guys? I'm not quite sure where to even begin with this review because I have a lot to say and I don't want to sit here and just ramble forever. I didn't even make no notes. I decided to do this review with absolutely no notes, just let what I feel come out here. Probably with no order and organization, let's be real. So, the show. As I kind of hinted at the top of this review, there were things about this show that I really, really loved. For starters, I think the acting was amazing. I never had a problem with the acting. The actors were magnificent and top-notch, and they gave it all with their performances. I think the special effects, for the most part, were absolutely amazing. I never really had any issues with the special effects. There were a few occasions that things were a little iffy, but for the most part, the special effects were great. Especially probably the unseen effects, if you will, things to really make this world look like Victorian London. You know, that would be what I would call the unseen effects, the effects that you can't really see or notice. But yeah, my issues with the show are definitely more in regards to the writing. Let's say the writing is definitely the problem with this show, which I'll kind of get into. Oh, and another thing, another brilliant thing, you guys, costuming. Costuming was top notch in this show. I love the costuming. It kind of a hint of, you know, the Victorian London look, but also kind of throwing in that steampunk flair and making things a little bit more modern, if you will. So yeah, there were definitely some really great things that I liked about this show. And I think where a lot of the show kind of falls apart is mostly due because of the coronavirus pandemic. This show was originally, I believe, supposed to air back in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And it was supposed to have 10 episodes. Instead, it got dramatically cut, and what we get in this first season is only 6 episodes. And it shows. Let me put it that way. It shows what a hot mess this show is in just 6 episodes. And the thing is, I mean, that's something that was out of the, you know, the creative team's control. You know, that was out of their control with this pandemic happening, that they had to cut, you know, episodes. They had to cut kind of certain things they planned on doing. I understand that. It's not their fault. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, instead of rushing out a product that's not really that satisfactory, maybe give it a little bit more time, so that way your audience who's viewing it will be a little bit more satisfied with it. Because yeah, I've not really seen anything totally overwhelmingly positive about this show. A lot of people are kind of in the same boat as me, I've noticed, with other reviews and things that I've read. A lot of people are in that same boat, that it's like there's things that they loved and enjoyed about the show, but yeah, the show just really falls apart with the writing and the world building of this whole show, and just the nature of how things are just kind of just thrown out at you and scattered, and it doesn't really make any sort of sense. So yeah. Once again, I'm trying to think where to go with this review, because I have so many things I want to just get into. For starters, a big thing that I loved about this show that really kind of got me into it was the fact that this was a huge, like, British cast, and if you know me, I love all things British period dramas, so this was like the perfect sort of show for me personally, you guys. That's what really got me hooked and engaged kind of from the get-go, you know, with the initial trailers and whatnot. We got this steampunk version of Victorian London, people have special gifts and powers, and then add on top of it this great cast, you guys. If you've seen a lot of British television like I have, because let me tell you, I have seen an absurd amount of British television. It's a little embarrassing. This entire cast, I was like, I know you, I know you, I know you. To many Americans are probably looking at this cast going, who the hell is that? Because seriously, the biggest known actor in this show, you guys, I think especially for Americans, is probably Nick Frost. And Nick Frost is barely in this damn show. I'll get to that in a minute, you guys, with some of my negatives. But yeah, Nick Frost is in this show, which was a highlight. Laura Donnelly, if you've seen Outlander, Laura Donnelly's in this show. If you've seen Poldark, Eleanor Tomlinson and Pip Torrens are both in this show. We got Tom Riley from Da Vinci's Demons. We got James Norton, who's from a ridiculous amount of British period dramas. Olivia Williams, I love her. Seriously, this cast, you guys, this cast is rather ridiculous with the amount of British talent that's in here, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, as I kind of mentioned, I had no problems with the cast. The cast, the acting, were brilliant. So yeah, if you're like me and this cast is just really getting to you, I definitely recommend it for just this cast alone, you guys. So I really feel the need to just jump right into my negatives with this show. Yeah, guys, I really got to get into it because it's kind of driving me insane, because it's like I feel like I'm procrastinating. It's like there's so much about it that it was so frustrating that it's like I'm procrastinating, because I feel like I'm going to go into rant mode here. So yeah, once again, a lot of my problems with this show definitely had to deal with the writing and the world building more than anything, because it's like 6 episodes just jam-packed with information and stuff that's never really fully entirely explained. or even like relationships for that matter. For starters, let's head into some of the big spoilers just right from the get-go, you guys. We get like this name drop, because if you've seen the show, there's a big, we find out that the Touched, they got their powers from like this alien species, something like that. It's never fully entirely satisfactory explained, you guys. I mean, they make an attempt of it in the finale in episode 6. It's still kind of like, I'm lost, I'm confused, am I just stupid? But we get this big name drop. I think it's like episode, what episode is it? Like, is it episode 4 or 5? And all of a sudden, Laura Donnelly's character, Amalia True, all of a sudden she starts name dropping the alien species, and they're called the Galanthi. And I remember just watching whatever episode that was, whether it was 4 or 5, I can't quite remember. I just remember she started talking about the Galanthi all of a sudden, and I felt like I had missed something. I was like, wait, what? What are the Galanthi? Who? What? And kind of through context, really, that's kind of my big problem with this show. In order to kind of really grasp certain things going on, you really got to read into the context and what's kind of going on to fully understand stuff, because through context, I was able to figure out, oh, she's talking about the alien species. The alien species is known as the Galanthi. Okay, but still, she kind of just throws that name out there without any warning, and she's talking about the species, and then all the other characters seem to know what she's talking about as well, and that's kind of really confusing. So it's little things like that, you guys. Sometimes it's not even really big major things that I have a nitpick with. It's little minor things, just minor issues with the writing, where there's some really minor flaws in there that are quite distracting. So that's a big thing, just name dropping stuff without any warning, and kind of just expecting you, the viewer, to be like, oh yeah, I get it, and you really don't, you know? Another big issue that I had this season, you guys, let's talk about Amy Manson's character. Let's talk about Amy Manson's character. This may just be a minor thing for me. This may just be something for me personally, you guys, because I wasn't fooled. Like I said, I have watched a ridiculous amount of British television. It's a little embarrassing. So the character named Malady was played by Amy Manson. I love Amy Manson, you guys. We kind of get this big reveal that she had like a body swap situation, and she was secretly in hiding as that female reporter Effie Boyle, I think it was. We get like this big thing that she body swapped, and it's supposed to be a big shocking plot twist and this and that, but because I'm already very familiar with actress Amy Manson, that whole plot twist, if you will, I'm not even going to call it a plot twist, because I already guessed it a couple episodes, you know, when the Effie Boyle character was first introduced, I had already figured out the plot twist. I'm not even exaggerating. I seriously figured out the plot twist. And it's like the writers were fully expecting the audience to be like fooled by that, and I certainly didn't feel fooled by it. Once again, that might be a thing just for me personally, because I am very familiar with Amy Manson. I know exactly what that actress looks like, even with them putting a different wig on her, kind of shaping her body differently with the corset and clothing she was wearing, even with that hair, the corset, the glasses. They did different things to kind of change her look and whatnot, but I wasn't fooled. I was like, well, that's Amy Manson. I already know the plot twist that's coming. Well, thanks a lot, you know? So once again, that might just be something, a nitpick for me personally, that the writers were like, oh, we have this great plot twist. Didn't work for me. I think it worked for other people, though. You know, I think it worked for the larger portion of the audience. That definitely worked for them, but yeah, it definitely did not work for me. So kind of that was, in a sense, for me, that was another moment of poor writing to an extent, because that reveal was just not as big and extravagant as I think they were hoping it to be, because I think for a small portion of the audience, it just did not work. What else, you guys? Don't even, good God, don't even get me started on the final episode, episode 6. Episode 6 was a hot freaking mess, okay? It was still an enjoyable hot mess, though. Let me give it that. Let me put it that way about this show, because it sounds, you may be listening to this review thinking, oh Lord, she really hated this show. I did not hate this show. Let me make that clear. I really enjoyed this show for the most part. I liked it more than I disliked it, okay? This is the type of show that I would call an enjoyable hot mess. Because I think one of the last shows that I did that to was Cursed, that Arthurian retelling, you know, from the point of the Lady of the Lake, back on Netflix. Cursed is an example of something that I called an enjoyable hot mess, and so the Nevers, I'm kind of thinking of it that way. It's an enjoyable hot mess of a show. Yeah, episode 6 of this show was definitely just all over the place. It's like they were trying to attempt to tie up all of these loose ends and try to make sense of stuff, and I just was not particularly really liking that aspect of it. For me, what I initially gravitated to with this show was definitely that very steampunk Victorian London aesthetic, if you will. So then, yeah, here comes episode 6, and all of a sudden we have like this modern, futuristic science fiction thrown in there, and I just did not like that at all. I didn't even understand it. I just don't really entirely get it. And I foresee having a problem with this show in the future. If it's going to keep up this science fiction aspect with it, I feel like I'm not really going to continue to like this show that much, because what I'm liking is the more fantasy element, you know, the fantasy historical fiction aesthetic of this show. Yeah, if it gets progressively more science fiction, I don't think I'm really going to attach or connect to it, because I'm not really into science fiction that much. When it's done well, I really love it. But this show is just, I think that's the big thing. It's just trying to tackle too much. It has a bit of fantasy, it has a bit of science fiction. Obviously it's historical fiction, but hey, there's some modern stuff apparently in there from the future. And it makes the writing really clumsy and cluttered, and there's too much going on and not enough being explained or even developed, and a lot of it just leaves the audience kind of, you have a lot more questions more than anything. You know, I mean, once again, I mean, there's some really good things about this show. If you did pay attention throughout the season, I think you could guess very early that Amalia, that she was not really the real Amalia. She was like, what would you kind of think of it as? Like, she was kind of like almost body snatched, if you will. You know, she has an alien in her. She is the alien being. She's part of that Galanthe species or whatever. If you paid attention throughout the entire season, you were able to catch all those little hints and teases that Amalia was an alien, that she's not from our world. The show definitely gave us all sorts of clues very early on, especially one of those very first scenes with Nick Frost, and he's like going to cut her face off or something. He's trying to threaten her, and she's like, oh, this isn't even really my real face. And it is. It's so ominous and weird, like, what does she mean by that? And there's so many little moments of that. So yeah, I think everything with Amalia, I think that all of that was done very well. And yeah, Laura Donnelly, her as an actress, she really sells all that. I think all that was really well done. You know, giving you the steps to, hey, she's an alien, and it's not like just all of a sudden in your face. You know, you're anticipating it and kind of expecting it by the end of the season. So there's things like that. There's little things like that that work, but then, yeah, other things that just do not entirely work. But yeah, I did. I had a very complicated time with the Nevers, you guys. That being said, am I excited for a potential season 2? Yes, I will definitely watch a season 2, with the hope that hopefully it gets better and things start to make more sense. Who knows? But I'm almost a little fearful it's not going to get better. I don't know. I'm a little fearful that it's not, but I'm still trying to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt, if you will. Is that kind of it, you guys? I think that's kind of it on my thoughts and feelings on the Nevers. Maybe I should have made notes, because I feel like there's some things I'm leaving out, you guys. How did you guys feel about the Nevers? Let me leave that up in the air. And definitely feel free to talk about spoilers with me. Like I said, I really like the show for the most part. I have more likes than dislikes. This review may seem like I have more dislikes than likes. But yeah, the things that frustrated me and disappointed me about the show, yeah, they really got to me in some ways. But yeah, how did you guys feel about the show? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? I'm definitely really curious about the Malady character, that reveal that she was actually Effie Boyle, you know, the whole body switch with that other girl. Who was fooled by that and who wasn't? Because I'm very curious. I feel like American audiences were fooled by that, you know, like the larger American audience was fooled by that Malady twist, but I feel like for those of you watching in the UK, especially if you've seen Amy Manson and a lot of stuff, I feel like you guys are probably like, oh, that's Amy Manson. We've already guessed the plot twist. Seriously, I don't know why that bugged me. I know I'm really caught up on that, you guys, with that whole plot twist, but it just really bugged me because I don't know, it just really did, and it's hard to explain. But yeah, you guys, what worked, what didn't? Like I said, my biggest problems were definitely the world building, the writing, just things not connecting, not tying in, just randomness everywhere, things not being explained in a satisfactory manner. Hopefully season 2 is better, you guys. So you guys, that is it for my rather, I don't know, long-winded, rambly review of the Nevers. Like I said, I should have taken notes, because I feel like I'm just rambling and stumbling all over the place with my thoughts, because my thoughts are every which way, because I feel like there's a lot that I want to say and still haven't completely expressed to the best of my abilities, if that makes sense. But still, anyway, that's it for this review. In the comments below, please feel free to share your thoughts. Spoilers are welcome. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.